Hi guys, good evening. Welcome to the post-market analysis session of the 4th of May 2022. And what a fall today, isn't it? The day actually opened at the previous day high and a huge fall in Nifty today. After the day opened and closed inside the previous day's range, it actually went and hit the CPR. So that was obvious at that time during the open of the day, that once it opened outside the previous day high and closed inside the previous day's range, it would go and meet the CPR. But we had this zone that we had marked here, and during the first session itself, this first candle itself, we could see that the first candle had closed within that particular zone. In fact, it had closed exactly at the level that we had marked. But then the second candle itself broke that zone, and since the CPR was very close to that area, it went and hit the CPR. But the CPR was pretty wide today. It was not a very narrow CPR. Okay, it was not a narrow CPR, and so a breakout pattern was not exactly what was on the options list of my trading today. So I was not really exactly targeting breakouts today. And so one of the good patterns to trade on such days is when the price closes inside the previous day's range like this, and then you have some space to the CPR up till here, okay, and then the price goes and hits the CPR. So it's one of a good patterns to trade. But then, on wide CPR days, it can happen that price can actually bounce from here and go up. And you could see here that there was a R1 pivot at which it was taking resistance initially, and there was the virgin CPR also above it, and there was the weekly CPR also at the same place. But price did not exactly open at the virgin CPR in Nifty. It actually opened at the R1 pivot, and as I always tell you, R1 pivot and the PDH usually behave like twins, and so one provides resistance, the other will provide resistance. And so here you could see that as R1 pivot provided resistance, previous day high, once it was broken by the first candle, again price did not go and reach that candle. So now you could see it was broken as a support in the very first candle. Once it was broken as a support, it was going to act as a resistance even if price went and touched that area again. And then you could see that there was this whitish CPR here on the bottom, and you can see the number of red candles in this entire area. Look at the number of red candles. Such kind of price action, you could see that there was only a few amount of green candles within that area, right? And you really cannot make out, or you really cannot judge that such a fall would be there. And in fact, SGX Nifty's position in the morning was indicating a positive opening, not exactly a gap up, but a positive opening, and that is how Nifty opened. And you could see that once it broke the CPR, really nothing could hold it there. And you could see that it was the 10:20 AM candle that broke the CPR, and then you can see the number of levels that it has broken today. It broke the S1 pivot, it broke the previous day low, it broke the S2 pivot here, it broke the S3 pivot here, it broke the S4 pivot as well. And see how it went and hit the S5 pivot. It also tried to break the S5 pivot. You can see here, this is the S5 pivot here. So that pivot was also broken at that level, but then the price took some support lower down, and then it stopped falling after that. So a huge fall today. And let us measure the amount of fall that we saw today. This is the day high and this is the day low. Nifty has fallen by 510 points. That's a massive fall. And still, even during that fall, you could see how it has reacted to the levels that we had prior marked. You can see how price has gone ahead and made these green candles here. It shows that these levels were important. We had marked these levels even before the market opened, and you can see the kind of price action that happens around that area, how much time price spends before it can actually go ahead and break that zone. So look at the kind of price action you can see here. It actually got a bounce from the S2 pivot for a while, and then again this area that we had marked, the box that I had marked here, once it was broken as a support, it acted as a resistance. And then you can see this particular pin bar here. It's a 2 p.m. candle, and you can see how massive that pin bar is. So how the price was rejected, it actually went and hit the S1 pivot again at 2 p.m. right? So buyers had actually taken price from here, this area, it formed a base, and from this area buyers had actually taken the price up to the S1 pivot also. And at that time I actually suggested as if the price might show a reversal to us, because at this point you can see that there was a base forming, but then no, that was not the case. That was just some profit booking, and then price tended to fall further from there. Now you would ask me if it was a good idea to go short on the break of CPR here, and no, that was not a good idea. One, there was no breakout candle in at the CPR range. Okay, so below the CPR there was no breakout candle. You can see that it's a pretty small bodied, smallish kind of a candle, which was a 10:20 AM candle. So you can see how small that candle is, right? And the second most important reason is it was a wide CPR. So usually going short on such a candle, I will just explain to you what happens if you do that. You can keep your SL up here, okay? And then what would your target be? It would usually be the previous day low. So then now this doesn't look to be a very good risk reward, does it? So it's not a very good risk reward. It's definitely not 1:2. It's safe to take the profit at the previous day low. So here it did not happen. And third reason, and another very important reason, was that there was the Bank Nifty CPR below Bank Nifty's price at that time. So Bank Nifty was still above the CPR and it hadn't broken the CPR at that time. So that was another reason why it was not a good idea to take a breakout from CPR today. So it was not a good idea to trade the breakout from CPR. Okay, and these are the days when you should just let price go. These are not the days when you should be looking for breakout trades at all, because see, you can see here now, initially, see here on the top was the Virgin CPR, which was a very wide Virgin CPR coming from the 2nd of May. And you can see here that on 2nd of May price had gone sideways entirely, though it gapped down, but then the first candle was a green candle, a strong green candle, and then that price was actually taking support from that area and it went in a particular range, but then it ended higher, right? The price ended higher that on that day. And then on 3rd of May you can still see that the CPR is kind of wideish. So on such days the CPR itself is telling you that you should not be looking for patterns wherein you take breakouts, so you trade breakouts, but you should be looking for patterns wherein you can get to see some reversal type of candlesticks. But obviously during such price action, such strong price action, such strong bearishness in the market, you don't really get to see any strong reversal candlesticks either. Let's see what levels we had today that we can carry forward for tomorrow. Now this is one area which we had marked coming from the prior price action, right? I had said that that area would act as a strong resistance if price opens within that zone. So I had said in that video that it is very important not to keep any long trades open at this area, and that is almost what has happened. Prices actually opened above it and then closed below it, so that area is important. But what we will now do is we will actually just shift that area up to the previous day high, and that area happens to be an important supply zone now. So we'll mark that area like so, and we will delete these areas now where price has actually gone into a sideways kind of a zone. And there is one area which we can mark, which is here. Okay, and this area again now coincides with the CPR. Let's see the 5 minutes time frame. See, even on the 5 minutes time frame, it is a very important area to mark. Why is that line important? Why is the level of 16,840 important? The area is important for the simple reason that price had fallen from here to here till that area. Then it took a slight jump from here to here. and then it again fell from here to here. It was broken, and now that price has, that area, this zone has not been retested as a resistance. So price, whenever it opens below it, if tomorrow it opens flat or gap down, then the price will probably come there and take a resistance. But since it is below, since it is within the CPR, we don't need to really mark that area. And you could see how price has fallen from this point up to the S2 pivot, and then it has taken resistance again at the S1 pivot. So the S1 pivot might act as a resistance to price also, because you can see that there is a strong candle at 2 p.m. which has fallen, and you can see that price had taken support for a while at this area at the level of around 16,940 and to the high of around 16,960. So that also might be an important area, but it is an intraday level, and since we already have the R1 pivot on top of it, we will not mark that area today, because then there will be a lot of levels and you might get confused looking at so many levels very close to the R1 and the CPR. So I'm not marking that area simply because the CPR and the R1 are very close by, but otherwise that area might be an important area. And you can also see that the Virgin CPR has not been tested today, so it will be extended forward. We also have a gap, and frankly this Virgin CPR from the 19th of April can be deleted now, because it's already 4th of May and it's been a very long time since the Virgin CPR was formed. Okay, now let's go to Bank Nifty and we will check what are the important levels in Bank Nifty. See, now this was the Virgin CPR which we had marked in Bank Nifty coming from the 2nd of May. Okay, whenever the price opens in such a crunch area, I never tend to trade. See, this sort of an area, and I never tend to trade. I don't like trading within such areas, because most often what happens is price tends to literally go from one to the other area here like this. Okay, and it can either break down like it broke down today, or then it can actually go up and break out of it also. But you could see today that there was a wide CPR in Bank Nifty too, and during such days it's really not a very prudent idea, not a very good idea or an intelligent idea to really go ahead and short or go ahead and take reverse or breakouts on such days. Now you can see that this particular candle here had formed this wick on the bottom, and I have marked that wick with the line here, and then none of these candles has actually closed below that line very comfortably. So you can see this one also, the wick, you can see the wick on the bottom, it's pretty large, right? And then you can see the bullishness here, you can see all this bullishness, and the price actually did take a bounce from there like in Nifty we saw. But then exactly at the central pivot it took a resistance and then it fell further, right? On such days, whenever you see price breaking out, just take a look at where Nifty is also, because it's all easy and fine to see after the fact and measure everything and talk about it in the analysis video, but you should use common sense when actually trading in the live market. So it's not as if you short somewhere in the candles around this area here, somewhere here, and then you're lucky enough to take that trade to the CPR and then you can pick up the profit at CPR. So it's not so. And where did you have a very strong candlestick here in the Virgin CPR? The one candlestick that you saw was this one, which was the 9:30 a.m. candlestick, which looked to be strong, which looked to be a very strong bearish candle. So it was a good idea to actually go short on the candle here by keeping your SL above it. The entry would be somewhere here in this area, and then your profit booking would be at the CPR. So you can see here that the risk reward is really bad, and that is the reason why I always say that traders should not be looking to short at the Virgin CPR when the CPR is so close and when the CPR is so wide. So CPR before the day opens tells us that it is going to be a sideways kind of a day. It was very easy for price to actually stay in this zone like this for the entire time today. Okay, and such falls are unprecedented, and usually such falls follow the news. So such falls come after extreme news reactions, and that is why I always say that your trading arsenal should be ready, and you should be ready with your formats of trading and your patterns of trading, and you should be very strong in your mind about which trades you take and which trades you let go. As you can see, we can see more than 1,000-point drop. In fact, we can see more than an 1,100-point drop in Bank Nifty. And why I say that you should be ready to let go and not suffer from any FOMO is because the market will give you your patterns, and today was not one such pattern. So today was a day when if you would have shorted a call at any point, or if you would have bought a put at any point, you would have made money. But that is not the kind of trading that this channel teaches. Okay, and principally the trading should be directional if you are a directional trader. So you should actually look to trade in one particular direction, and the location of the trading is very, very important. So if you are a directional trader, it is highly important that you trade at the correct location. So locations are very important, and as you have followed my price action trading videos for so many months now, maybe, then you would have realized that I trade on the PDH, the PDL, and the CPR. This is the relation that I look for. So if the CPR is narrow enough, then a narrow CPR would suggest to me that I can go for breakout trades. So what does a narrow CPR suggest to me? That I can look for breakout trades. Okay, and a wide CPR on the other hand would suggest to me that the price is going to look to stay sideways, so it can give me signs of reversals, and so I will be on the lookout of reversals, or I would be looking for something like double top or double bottom patterns, wherein I know that the price is going to stay within a certain range and buyers and sellers are going to be equally strong. So today you could see that the sellers have completely overcome the buyers, and that is how the price has fallen today. So price usually will not respect any levels on such days. You can see how the S1 was broken after a bit of resistance at the S1. So there was a bit of resistance from the buyers. I mean, the buyers did provide a sort of fight there, and then you could see how this area was also a busy area for a while, but this level that we had marked prior, you could see how it was broken, and the S2 pivot was also broken at this point, and then finally the S3 pivot in Bank Nifty provided some support to price, and so the Virgin CPR should be deleted today. We did see a reversal pattern coming from Virgin CPR, but again that was not a tradable pattern, as I said, and you should not worry about such price action. If you haven't made money at all on such a day, that's fine, because if it's not going to be your pattern that you trade, if you're a reversal trader, then it's fine to let such patterns go. Now we have a Virgin CPR on the top, which is coming from 19th April, and as we just deleted that from the Nifty chart, we will delete it in Bank Nifty also. Let's go to the higher time frame. Let's just analyze what sort of price action we see here. See, now we have an important area up top here, okay, which is very close to the R1, and since it's not very close to CPR, or it's not within CPR as we saw in Nifty, we will mark this area. Why is it important? It is important because of the fact that here this price action has shown us a fall, then a base being formed here, then price spending such a long time before breaking that level. So that level by itself was important, and it was within the CPR, so it broke, it took support, it took resistance out here. You can see the wicks on the bottom, on the top, sorry, and then it had a nice big crash to the bottom, and so that area has been holding as a resistance. So we will mark that area for that simple reason that price has respected it today, and that line being at 36,030. So that area is an important area. It's very close to the R1, but since it's not very close to the CPR, we have marked it, and we do have a gap up here, so that gap remains. We do not have any gaps from today or the previous session to today, because price almost opened flat in Bank Nifty. It actually opened outside the previous day's range, but then it closed into the previous day's range very quickly. And if you were to ask me here, let me just take you back to 5 minutes. Yeah, if you were to ask me here if the previous day high breakout was a tradable breakout today, then let me tell you this, that the previous day high here was broken by this particular candle right here. Okay, and you can see that the CPR was right there at the base of that candle. So no, that was not a very good idea, because if the PDH breaks, then you trade for the CPR, right? The PDH breaks with a strong red candle. If the PDL breaks with a strong green candle, then you expect price to shoot up to the CPR. But if the CPR breaks to either side, then you look to take profit at the either the PDH or the PDL, right? So again here, as you could see, the idea of shorting this particular candle was not very good, because the price was almost at CPR. And then you could see this wick on the bottom, and if you marked this, then here, what was your breakout candle? Probably this would be your breakout candle right here, and that was not a very strong candle to short either. And you could see how price actually went up. It actually went right through the central pivot here and through the top central also. You can see the long wick on the top. And had you gone short on this candle, where would you have placed your SL? The most likely place to place your SL would be at the top here, above the central pivot. And you can see how it would have been taken. Had you placed your SL above the CPR also, it would have been taken. And so that is why you should always observe price action, and it is price action itself that tells you whether you should take any trade or not. Does this look like any breakout sign to you? It does not, right? It has a wick on the bottom. Breakout candle should be strong and they should be big. And that is the reason why I keep stressing on the fact that you guys should learn price action very well. And you can see that there is a wick on the top here, and this area has also provided some strong and some sharp resistance to price. So if you are very comfortable with that, you can actually mark this area off as well. Okay, that is the area of around 36,164.70. That area is important because the price has taken some resistance at that area, and you can see how this candle at 11:25 AM has provided resistance to the price. So you can stretch it down a little bit to 36,160, and you can keep it at the high of this candle. That's also fine. So you can have that area ready on your charts, and that zone might be an important zone for price to come, for price to trade at in the next trading session. Okay, we will not touch any other zones as of now. We will add a zone here on the top, which is a supply zone coming from the previous day high. So that area is going to be important as a supply zone. Again, because of today's fall, we have a very wide CPR in Bank Nifty as well as in Nifty for the oncoming trading session. Alright guys, so I think that should be it for the price action analysis. If you've liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the bell icon so you're notified each time I post a new video. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.